What's up guys, it's Jay with Bearded Dad Fishing, and while I love showing you guys my kayak fishing setup, I know it's more geared towards tournament anglers. So today I'm gonna show you my recommendation for what a beginner kayak fishing setup looks like. Something that's easy to install, affordable, and functional. But before we get to that, dad joke of the day, why was the farmer forced to become a DJ? He had too many sick beats. Let's start with the most important thing about your kayak fishing setup, and that is your kayak. Now, this is the Old Town Sportsman PDL 120, my first kayak, and I love it. I'll never get rid of it. But even though I love this kayak and it's stable and steady and everything, I would change something about it, and that's that I would have bought it used if I had the opportunity. Buying a used kayak can be really scary. You know, it can be beat up. You don't know who owned it, this or that, and that's all valid reasons to not get a used kayak. But you can save a lot of money on a used kayak. Number one, you can save up to 50% off of a used kayak. And a lot of people that buy fishing kayaks only use them a couple times because they're not well suited for the kayak they bought. It's too heavy, too long, too big. They want to roof rack it. There's a lot of reasons people buy these kayaks and then turn around and sell them right away. So if you come in prepared knowing what you want, you can get a good used fishing kayak for half the price of a new one. Now, there's a couple things to watch out for, and that's the fact with a lot of them, if you buy it used, the warranty does not transfer over to the second owner, and that's true for Old Town as well. So make sure you go over it, make sure there's no cracks, everything's nice and dry, and make sure you get it out on the water. Do a water test. Get it out there for 15, 30 minutes. And then when you get out of the water, make sure it's dry on the inside as well. But buying used is the #1 way to save money immediately on your kayak, and it's a great tip for beginners. And the second most important part of your kayak fishing setup besides your kayak is gonna be a PFD or personal flotation device. Do not go out on the water without one. I don't care if you're a good swimmer or not. Trust me, the experts say it for a reason, and you're not better suited or know more or swim better than these guys. When it comes to PFDs, there's a lot of different options on the market, from 20 bucks to 300 bucks and everything in between. So I'm gonna show you guys the ones that I have that I love, and then I'm gonna show you guys another option that's a really good option for beginners as well. First and foremost, this is the NRS Chinook OS. This was my first life jacket, really comfortable. It's a typical fishing jacket, life jacket. It has the high up back so that way it doesn't bang into your chair, and it has tons of storage in the front, lots of pockets for lures, for whistles, for safety, for whatever you need in there. It also has clips for radio, for lights. Just an all-around great life jacket. You're gonna find it typically in that $80 range, which is pretty average. I bought this one for $160, and that was 4 years ago, so the price did come down quite a bit. The next option is going to be an inflatable life jacket, which is what I have here. This is the Onyx AM24, and I really like this. I wear it a lot in the summertime, but it doesn't have the storage. It doesn't have any of the clips or anything like that, but it is a lot lighter, and you're going to feel less warm when you're wearing it. But some people don't like that trade-off, and they still prefer a life jacket like the NRS, and that's totally okay. But getting something like this is also an option, but they will be a little bit more pricier in that $100 to $120 range. And I know the prices for these might sound expensive, but think about it. This thing is meant to save your life. So beware of any of the cheap knockoff ones. If it's not Coast Guard certified, don't get it. If it's on one of those knockoff websites, definitely don't get it. There is an option that's a little bit more affordable, and it is all of the above. And it's from the maker, same maker as this one, Onyx. They have a fishing PFD, and it's a little bit more bulky, but it's more affordable, has a lot of storage, and it's meant specifically for anglers. And another important thing you'll need for your kayak fishing setup is a paddle. Get yourself a paddle, and it's funny, I don't have one on here because I lost it on my last fishing trip, but you need a paddle. Even if you have a motor or if you have a pedal drive, get a paddle, because something can happen to your prop, something can happen to your drive where you need to get out of a sticky situation. So never go out without a paddle. That said, if you have a motor drive or a pedal drive, I wouldn't spend too much money on a paddle. Honest to God, I get a $20 one from Walmart, and that's what I'm gonna go get for this one again, because I had it for 2 years and it did just fine. Another important part of your setup is how you're gonna transport your kayak to and from the water. Now, if you have a trailer, then that's how you're gonna do it. But if you don't, then you need to get a good kayak cart. Now, this is the Wilderness Systems kayak cart. I've had it for as long as I've had this kayak, and I gotta tell you, I really love this cart. Now, my biggest complaint is that it is a very expensive cart, 220 to 240 bucks. So it's not cheap at all. If you're looking for something that is comparable in quality, comparable in its heavy dutiness and how much weight capacity you can take, look at the Weaver cart. I did a video comparing the Wilderness System cart versus the Weaver heavy duty kayak cart, and I really like it. And I had it until recently, until I gave it to my buddy Mac. So get the Weaver cart if you're looking for a budget friendly option. You're also going to need a way to organize all your tackle, your tools, your lures, and everything you're bringing with you on the water. And that's where a Kayak Crate comes into play. There's a lot of different options for Kayak Crates: the Flambeau Tough Crate, the Yak Attack Blackpack Pro, the Wilderness Systems Kayak Crate, which I compared all three of those, and I'll put that in a video link below. However, if you make your own crate just like this one, you'll save a ton of money. I had a DIY milk crate for the first 3 years on the water, and I loved it, and it put up with a ton of abuse. Just like this, all it takes is 2 kayak crates, some rod holders, zip ties, some bungees, and you're ready to go. You can store a ton of stuff inside. You could store stuff on top, and of course your rods as well. So you don't need to spend 150 bucks, $200 on a kayak crate. You could spend 20 or 30 bucks on your own, and it will last a long time. You're also going to need a fishing net for your kayak fishing setup, which I have right here. Now this net I found in the clearance bin at Bass Pro Shops for 25 bucks. Now that was about 4 years ago, and this is a pretty dang good net, especially for that price. However, you can get plenty of good fishing nets online on Amazon. There's a lot of great options. Obviously, you have to think about what species you're going to target, but a good medium-sized net will catch you everything that you need, from panfish to larger bass. Now, if you're targeting something like muskie or pike or pickerel, then you're going to need something a little bit bigger. But I'm going to put a link down below to all the items that we're talking about, including the fishing nets. Of course, if you're going to be out on the water for a long period of time, you want to be comfortable, and that's where seat cushions come into play. I have a butt cushion and a back cushion, and these things are super comfortable. Now, this is from Kayak Cushion, which is one of the best known brands when it comes to seat cushions in the kayak fishing market. They are really comfortable. A lot of people use them. That said, they are a little bit pricier at about $70 each. So if that's too much to spend, or you're not going to be out on the water that long, then there are other options online that range in the $15, $20, $30 range, which I will link below as well. So a seat cushion will help you be more comfortable on the water, and especially if you're pedaling, it helps you sit a little bit higher up, and it alleviates some of that lower back pain that a lot of beginners get on the water when they're pedaling. If you plan on doing tournaments, or you're going to take your phone with you on the water, you need to protect your phone, because once it goes over, you might lose it forever. That's where the Rogue phone tethers come into play. I've had this Rogue tether now for about 3 years, and it's held up to a lot of abuse. This is the OG one. It has a silicone that goes around your phone case, attached to the tether, and a carabiner clip just like that. It works really good, and the whole idea is it just stops your phone from going over. Now, Rogue has a new offering called the Shield Tab, and it goes right on the back of your phone, and it goes between the phone and the phone case, and it has a little tab connected to the tether, so that way you can leave the tab in. It doesn't get in the way of any chargers or anything like that. And it just a little bit less setup every time you go out on the water. So I'll put a link to both of those down below so you guys can check them out. Next thing you guys will need is going to be some fishing tools on your setup. So that's where lip grips come into play in case you get some toothy fish, you know, pickerel, pike, muskie, walleye, anything like that. You don't want to put your fingers in the fish's mouth. Also, if you're dealing with trebles, this is a good way to make sure you don't get hooked. Also, a decent pair of fishing pliers. These are maybe 15 or 20 bucks online on Amazon. This pair has a line cutter, it has a split ring remover, and it has plenty of spots that you can leash it up if you want to put a tether on it. But you definitely need to get some tools to take with you on the water, because you don't want to get hooked, or you don't want to have to leave a hook in a fish because you don't have the right tools. Something that's not on this kayak fishing setup, and it's for a specific reason, it's a fish finder. Because if you're just learning how to kayak fish, if you're getting out for the first time, even if you're familiar with fishing, I don't recommend getting a fish finder. It's just something else for you to learn, something else to get in your way when you should be learning your kayak. You should be learning about your space. You should be learning how to work in a small area, which is kayak fishing. I mean, kayak fishing, you have what's in front of you and you have what's behind you. So don't worry about getting a fish finder your first year. My very first year kayak fishing was without a fish finder. My second year I put one on, and that's when I started learning it and dedicating more time to it. But get out on the water, enjoy the kayak, enjoy your surroundings, learn how to fish just by using your eyesight and kind of what's around you and taking those cues from nature before diving into fish finders, because that could actually ruin your experience if you're trying to learn the technical aspects of using a fish finder while learning the technical aspects of being on a kayak, your stability, your space constraints, and everything else. So leave the fish finder for later on. Something that's always on my kayak, no matter what, are rod floats. I have them on my rods at all times. Now, these rod floats are essentially small pool noodles. You put them on the base of your rod and you strap them down with some Velcro, and they make sure that if your rod goes in the water, it floats and you don't lose your rods. Now, if you only have like a couple cheap rods, maybe you don't care, but as your rods get more expensive and your setups get more expensive, you might care about losing it, because that could be $400 just by one simple mistake. So get some rod floats. They're really cheap. I think they're like 15 bucks for 6 of these. Again, I'll put a link down below, but this is the best way to protect your rod investment. You'll also notice I have a 360 light in the rear of my kayak. This is the Yak Attack Visi Pro 2, and it's super bright. It has a 360 light on top that's viewable from 360 degrees, hence the name. Has a bright orange flag, and it has a reflective strip. The great thing about this specific model is that it tears down real easily. It just folds right over, and the actual flag doubles as a bag that you can put everything in. Now, this is really important, especially if you're fishing big water or water that has powered boats, because they need to see you from a distance. And this helps them see you, because remember, in a kayak, you're the lowest and slowest thing in the water at all times. So anything that can help you get the edge and have a little bit more visibility is definitely worth it. And the next thing is not something you need, but it's more of a convenience. If you don't have a cup holder like I have right here on this kayak, then get yourself a cup holder that goes onto your gear tracks. These cup holders are maybe 20 bucks on Amazon, and they just screw right onto your gear track via a T-bolt. Now, if you don't drink water or coffee or anything when you're on the water, you can also use it to catch all your lures when you're done with them before you put them in your tackle box. So multi-purpose, but I love to drink me some coffee on the water, and these things come in clutch. You'll also see there's a cooler on my kayak right behind my seat. The great thing about these kayak coolers is that they utilize this space that is otherwise typically not used on a kayak. So if you're harvesting fish, this is a great way to keep it. Maybe you want to bring some cold drinks with you on the water, put some ice in there, take some food, some snacks, whatever. It's nice to use. I personally use this to organize all my soft plastics. So I keep my hard lures in this box with my terminal tackle, and then I keep all my soft plastics in the cooler behind my seat. So I definitely recommend a cooler if you're harvesting fish, or if you just want to take some drinks with you, or if you want to organize your plastics. And something a lot of people don't consider when they're talking about kayak fishing setup is footwear. What you're wearing on your feet on the water. So I have 2 things I wear depending the time of the year, and that is either these water shoes that are meant for stomping around creeks. They drain well. If you get them wet, which I get them wet all the time, they dry easily so your feet don't stay wet when you're out on the water. And if it's a little bit colder, I'm wearing these NRS Boundary boots. These things are one of my favorite pieces of apparel for kayak fishing. They keep your entire feet dry. They go up to your calves. They tighten around your calf as well. They can tighten down by your toes. They're just really comfortable. They can accommodate big wool socks as well. They're a little bit pricier at 120 bucks, but they're definitely worth it if you're looking for something to keep your feet dry in the colder months. And if you thought this video was helpful, check out my entire beginner's guide to kayak fishing right here. So till next time, guys, peace and God bless.